All right, folks, check this out. Liberal Fox News host Jessica Tarlov brutally humiliated her 4 MAGA co-hosts on The Five, and one of them is former top Trump communications advisor Kellyanne Conway. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, here is Jessica Tarlov humiliating Kellyanne Conway, the ultimate MAGA spin doctor.
So they could get 5 Republicans out, and they could also shore up 4 vulnerable Democrats in swing seats and make sure we get those as well.
It's
and
easy
when they're
elected, I'll clarify. It's easy, simple to get elected and reelected. And reelected as a Democrat, as a socialist, as a
Gavin Newsom is a socialist.
As a coddle criminals. Has he condemned Mondami? Has he condemned what's going on here?
Stop just throwing whatever on the wall about this. You're just using buzzwords.
No, I don't need to use buzzwords. Here's
really,
the
Mondani has nothing to do with Gavin Newsom.
Oh, New York City has nothing to do with the governor of California. They're the same party, as is your party. But since you invoked my name, we're going to do Fox News debate rules, and I get 30 seconds. Here's what I meant.
I never get that rule.
It is so simple to be elected, reelected as a Democrat in California. It's impossible to govern as these kinds of Democrats in California is all I mean.
So Kellyanne Conway is so desperate, she has to try to tie Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom in California on the West Coast to a New York City mayoral candidate on the East Coast, socialist. Gavin Newsom's a socialist. If he's not a socialist, why hasn't he disavowed Mamdani? Well, by that stretch, then Donald Trump is a fascist and all Republicans are fascists because they don't disavow the fascism within the Republican Party. Two can play at that game, Kellyanne, which is why you'll always lose. It's pretty pathetic. She's very transparent. And even Jessica's like, what the hell are you talking about? 2 separate coasts. They have nothing to do with each other. It would be a bit more palatable if it were an L.A. mayor, Los Angeles mayoral candidate. But that's how you know that Kellyanne Conway is scrambling in real time, just panicking. Socialist. I just got to say it so many times. Pretty pathetic. Here's some other clips.
Hey, let's go.
Fox News, thank you for calling it a hoagie, though. I really appreciated that as a filling.
Also, if you back the blue, Judge Jeanine, who I miss dearly, then he pardoned all these January 6ers who beat the crap out of police.
They didn't beat the crap out of police.
Really? No.
Oh, who died on January 6th?
Ashley Babbitt. Say her name. No, it is not all you need to know.
You do.
And you know that hundreds
you don't have a
of
coup
officers were
without
attacked.
guns.
Do not say that the hoagie guy is more of an offender than the people who attacked police on January 6th.
I think the hoagie guy is the poster boy for your party.
Yeah, but we think the violent January 6th insurrectionist cultists are the poster children for your party. Now, for context, what they're talking about is that there was a man in Washington, D.C., who was charged with felony assault after throwing a Subway sandwich, a hoagie, at a uniformed, armored police officer. Not a brick, not a knife, nothing heavy, an actual just a sandwich that you eat. Was charged with felony assault. And Greg Gutfeld and Kellyanne Conway and MAGA collectively are more offended by that. Now, I point out, crazy how Trump will sick the fucking National Guard on a guy for throwing a meatball marinara at the cops, but he'll happily pardon this. And that's what Jessica's pointing out, that, again, Trump has no credibility on this issue because actual threats to law enforcement, and Greg Gutfeld, by the way, is just lying out of his ass, police officers were brutalized on January 6th. Not Ashley Babbitt, who was a Trump supporter. Yes, she was killed because she refused to listen to law enforcement and tried to break into the rotunda and attack politicians, and she was killed by law enforcement, and I think justifiably so. But she was not the only person who experienced violence that day. Hundreds of law enforcement officers were attacked and bludgeoned by Trump supporters. And so there's a total asymmetry here. You all don't give a shit about it. You all celebrate it. You pardon it. This was pardoned. All the violence was pardoned on January 6th. I mean, my God, if the hoagie guy was pardoned by the next Democratic president, Greg Gutfeld will resurrect these clips and he'll be apoplectic. Oh, somebody threw a sandwich at a law enforcement officer and a Democrat would dare pardon it? Meanwhile, Trump actually pardoned violent January 6th insurrections. People, I've been mocking MAGA Republicans about this for the past 24 hours. So the Department of Justice, if you touch any law enforcement officer, we will come after you. That's the official Justice Department Twitter page. And I said, wow, look at all that law enforcement touching from the violent cultists. You all happily pardoned. I think I also made fun of Jeanine Pirro in this respect as well. See if I can find it here. Oh, yeah, Jeanine Pirro, former Fox News host, whom Jessica Tarlov referenced. Let me be clear, if you lay a hand on a law enforcement officer, be certain that we will come after you with the full weight of the law. And I'm like, many hands laid on law enforcement officers by your fellow cultists, you happily pardon them all. So yes, I think it's important to point out that hypocrisy. Here's another clip of Jess bringing the facts and the smackdown to her MAGA co-hosts.
What is also the most important aspect of this is that taking over the DC police, like what he did in Los Angeles as well, is part of this massive consolidation of power that Donald Trump has been undertaking. So when you call an emergency for everything, and he even said today, remember,
It is an emergency.
It is not. He said at first, I have 30 days. And then he said, well, I can make it a national emergency, and then it would be forever. I could do it. I don't know if I will, how he plays around with that. What he's doing with redistricting mid-cycle, how he's going after universities and law firms, how he's firing people who give him information that he doesn't want, like the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
All legal.
And he puts in a guy who goes to January 6th who's going to do what he wants, and maybe we won't have a job report.
What is your alternative? Please tell us.
To have a
one.
Democratic president.
Okay, that worked out really well.
So,
I think that's a great alternative, but good on her for pointing out the power consolidation, and Trump also siloing himself off from dissent and information that he doesn't like. Again, the E.G. Antoni, the new Bureau of Labor Statistics nominee, yes, he was at January 6th, the day of the insurrection. He was photographed. He's shown up in footage now. He's also disrespected by both liberal and conservative economists. They think he's highly unqualified and inexperienced. He's a total disaster for the job. So good on her for pointing those things out as well.
It leads me to this other thing about trying to figure out why Democrats are so lazy. And they are literally lazy. They think that if they just focus on Trump, then they don't have to assess these other issues. There's like 6 or 7 issues. He says people are scared. He says that Trump's going to run for a 3rd term. These are very easy things to say. They're hypothetical. They're not true, but it's easy. So if Democrats know the problem, why don't they solve it? Are they allergic to work? How are you allergic to work? It makes me think that when they look at a problem, they see the effort and the inconvenience that is put on them to reach that point, where Republicans actually see the outcome of the work, and that makes the inconvenience and the effort worth it. So we're going to be unpopular if we crack down on crime. So people will call us transphobic if we want men out of women's sports. So people are going to call us xenophobic because we want a wall. But that's what we go through to get to the solution. The Democrats, however, are just focused on the effort and the inconvenience of losing status if they were to grow some balls.
if they wanted to do the work, they wouldn't steal 5 seats. And that's what Donald Trump asked them to do.
Well, that's a political question. I'm talking about people's concerns.
So it's it's actually a really good point, which is that the only reason Donald Trump is trying to steal these seats by aggressive gerrymandering in Texas is because he is well aware that his record just objectively sucks. And this is coming from a country that grades Trump on a curve, but the Republican base is still behind him 95%, but it's not enough. He has opposition from the Democratic Party, and he's hemorrhaging independents. So great rejoinder by Jessica Tarlov here. One last clip.
They're just acting like Democrats.
And you say Donald Trump tells it like it is. Literally today, he said inflation cooling right where we want it, and we got the U.S. wholesale inflation number, which is the highest that it's been in 3 years. Fresh and dry veggies up 39%, beef up 80%, toys, appliances, shoes, things that we all need. 44% of people are saying now that they are going to have to go into debt to get their kids back to school.
Is that where they're just acting like Democrats?
Absolutely. Donald Trump is the most prolific, inveterate, pathological liar we've ever seen in modern American politics, infinitely worse, more dishonest than any Democratic politician, perhaps all of them combined. He may tell as many lies as every Democratic politician alive, certainly at the federal level, if you squeeze them together. So good on her for pushing back on this idea that Trump tells it like it is. He doesn't tell it like it is. He is not authentic. He is not an honest broker. He's not a straight shooter. He's a bullshitter. He's a liar. And even with respect to the economy, he's trying to sell the American people a bill of goods, knowing that the reality is something entirely different, which is why he fired the BLS commissioner in the first place, is because he doesn't want increasingly publicly available data which disproves and discounts his narrative. And it's just true. Trump is causing inflation to spike on his watch as a direct consequence of his tariffs and his tariffs alone. So hopefully Democrats will continue to make a compelling case that Trump and the Republican Party and the Republican Party should suffer a political consequence for this in the 2026 midterms. Given that that's looking increasingly likely, Trump is trying to rig the game. So good on Jessica for pushing back on all this, and good on her for pushing back on the bullshit from Kellyanne Conway, who's like, socialist, Newsom's a socialist, New York mayor, California governor, they all go hand in hand. Good on her for pushing back on that bullshit. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.